Hey everyone, welcome back to the Errant Adventure. It's been a while. We're now doing this remotely in our off time. I've relocated. Now I'm in North Carolina, and Adam's still in New Jersey. Poor guy. I'm sorry.
Exactly where I was.
Exactly where you were. But luckily, thanks to the creation of the interweb, we are able to keep the show going. And so we know it's been a while. We missed you as much as you missed us.
Yeah. One of the good things about COVID, we
Oh
have
yeah.
now there's a lot of internet calling going on and internet video making.
There's a lot of COVID has been great for a lot of things. There's a lot of streaming things that have grown. Like,
Yep.
think of how much content has been even put out there, how much Star Wars content has been put out during COVID.
Oh
Everyone was
yeah.
sitting there on their couch. Like, the budgets for all these studios gone up as well as the prices. And
Yep.
there's been some good content put out. It's also been some bad content put out.
Yeah. And I mean, and actually we were actually talking about this a few minutes ago. Somebody Steve didn't hit the record button, so a lot of that was kind of gone.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, I mean, we were just talking about that, like yeah, we were talking about Andor and the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian and all of that. Um, and we were actually one of the things that we were just kind of postulating uh,
I like
was
that word.
oh, thank you. I'm trying to use my degree to do something a little bit more than pull up your pants and do you have to go pee pee. So one of the things that we've been postulating is kind of what if Mace Windu survived, which there are theories that he did, and there's been a lot of rumors about if he's coming back in any um, future Star Wars content. But what would he have been doing um, in that 20 years? Um,
And I'm a firm believer in the Star Wars world. If there's no body, there's no death. Like, there has
yeah,
to be a body. Like, too many people have fallen or down shafts or out windows and stuff and survived.
yeah,
So no body. He's not dead until he's dead, and you
into
see it.
Sarlacc pits.
Sarlacc pits down to the middle of Naboo.
Yeah,
So so
yeah,
even into the middle of the Death Star and an explosion.
that's true.
But
That's
what
true.
would Mace Windu be like, 20 years following his fight with Palpatine? And, what's he been doing all that time? Like, I have my theories. Do you have any thoughts?
I had a few. I mean, on the one hand, I really, I can really see him just kind of kicking back and just chilling. But
That's the Samuel L. Jackson in him.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Just kicking back, going, "What's in your wallet?" Um, but no, I mean, one of my thoughts, you know, I can see him living, living in the shadows and hiding out. I kind of go back and forth as to whether or not, which is an interesting theory, whether or not he's angry. He's holding on to that anger and really, you know, um, stewing that anger of, you know,
So
this is, look what that punk Anakin did, and I was the one telling everybody he's dangerous and I don't trust him and they should listen to me. And I can see him being very angry about that.
so in my mind, and I think it leads to a great storyline. Um, I think he falls. I think he's fallen.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember the last time, like you said, he was trying to warn them. He didn't want to let Anakin in. He didn't want to go through all that stuff. And next thing you know, it really didn't matter what he said. He was
Hmm.
overruled. They let him in, and he led to the downfall of everything. And on top of that, he helped Palpatine defeat him. Anakin helped Palpatine defeat Mace, and he got thrown out a window or sucked out a window. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's part of it. And I think over the time between one missing his hand, missing his lightsaber because he didn't have that. He I think he's been brooding. I think his anger and everything has been rising. And in my opinion, what I think would be a good storyline for if they were to do an Obi-Wan season 2. And as much as I really enjoy Obi-Wan, I love the series. I can't think of a story outside of this to bring a second season in. He would have to Mace Windu would have to confront Obi-Wan, try to win him over somehow, and then all of a sudden they start battling, and Obi-Wan kills
Question would be, of course, how would he know Obi-Wan is alive?
him. So right now, I don't think it's a secret. Uh, they on the I can't remember the name of the planet that Obi-Wan went to find Leia. They were posting things all over that planet saying, "Hey, he's here. Be on the lookout for him."
Hmm.
So I'm not sure how much of a secret that was because that went out across the entire city.
True.
We don't know where Mace is. We don't know where anything is. So people know he's out there. And
Yeah,
and just like that, the other Jedi who was killed in the series was able to track down Obi-Wan. I think someone of Mace Windu's caliber would
could
be
do
able to
it.
find him a lot easier.
Okay. Yeah, it would definitely be an interesting storyline. I mean, and I can see him going over to the dark side, um, just out of, sure anger of what happened to him, let alone, everything else, the Republic, the Jedi Order. Um, and I can also see him going to the dark side, but not aligning with Palpatine. I can see him being more like Darth Maul in the Clone Wars series, or not Clone Wars series. Yeah, Clone Wars series.
Well, and
Um,
well, that being said, just like there's multiple tribes of Jedi, some of the things that I've been reading, as I read books, there are other tribes of Jedi who actually like attachment.
mhm,
There are other dark side entities out there.
mhm.
So it doesn't have to be a Sith. He can just be, like what uh, Maul and Savage were.
Yeah.
He can just be a dark side assassin like Ventress. Um, he can be a Night Brother.
Here's an interesting story, or at least an idea for one. Mace Windu survives the fall, turns to the dark side, restarts the Knights of Ren because he doesn't want to be aligned with Palpatine and Vader, but he's not a Jedi anymore.
And that's true.
Just
And the Knights of Ren, contrary to popular belief, were not formed by Kylo Ren.
yeah,
Like,
they were around before then.
so that very well could be a good starting point. Even if it's just for the fact that people want to see Samuel L. Jackson back in the Star Wars universe, I
Hmm.
can't help but think that Mace Windu is going to show up. Like when in Obi-Wan, when they were in the crypt and they saw all the bodies, everyone was trying so hard to say that one bald Jedi was Mace Windu until you realize he has his hand, um, and that kind of
One
ruined it.
small problem.
Yeah,
He
and
has a hand.
I still wish I still
It
would
was
do it.
actually, yeah, I don't, was it his hand? I think it was like most of his arm.
Yeah, it
I
was a
think it
big
was like I think it was like all the way up to his bicep was gone.
it was a big portion of it, and
Yeah,
I do wish they went into more detail about that crypt though. But I think that there's a lot of room for everyone wants to see it. Samuel L. Jackson has said he wants to do it. Yeah, there's so many opportunities for it,
yeah,
and like, but at the same time, there's just one thing that keeps happening in the Star Wars universe that it does kind of irk me a little bit, and but at the same time it's needed for growth. I just feel like every time they come up with something, there's more and more Order 66 survivors. Originally, we're
yeah.
led to believe, hey, that there wasn't that many. There might be a handful out there. And I was reading an article the other day, like, no, all the known Jedi that are around during the time of Andor. And it's Ezra, it's Kanan, it's Luke, it's Ahsoka, who now apparently they're saying she is a Jedi, even though she made it very clear at the end of Rebels
That she wasn't a Jedi.
she is no Jedi.
Yeah.
Uh, but they're Grogu is still around at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So Cal Kestis, Seer Junda, even though she doesn't have the Force anymore, it's just I just feel like they're kind of taking away the aspect of Order 66, where it's like, how didn't they regroup?
Right. Well, and that's
Not to
here
mention,
and my
Obi Wan and Yoda were also still around.
yeah. My problem, and it goes along with what you just literally just said. You know, yeah, okay, they had to go into hiding, but once the rebellion started, where were they? Why didn't they regroup at that point? Like, it would have been a perfect time for all of these Jedi who survived to come out of hiding and be like, hey, here we are, Jedi, we're with you. Let's go kick some butt.
And the one thing that adds to that is you had young Jedi. You still had them. You still had Luke in his teens. You had,
Yeah.
granted, untrained. You had Ezra in his teens. Getting stronger. Kanan in his, let's say, 30s. You
Hmm.
have Ahsoka in her 30s. You have Cal Kestis who's in his 20s. You have the means for the now and the future.
Yeah.
Then you have Obi-Wan to train them. You have Ahsoka to also help train them. You have I don't know if they can find Yoda because he went very well into hiding. But
Yeah.
if he happened to come out of his cave, then now all of a sudden you have the Grand Master. You had everything there for the
Right.
now, the
Right.
future, and the past to make it happen.
And
And
I just don't, and I just, I'm sorry, I don't buy into, well, they couldn't use the Force because then they would be found out and they had to stay hidden. I'm sorry, I don't buy into that at all.
especially when you think about, like, when you watch Rebels, they're using the Force pretty often.
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
and you can't say that when Luke is making his temple and training Grogu, that there's not enough of a presence there that other survivors are coming out.
Right.
When I don't know if you've played um, Fallen Order, but what it
Yeah.
gives one thing about that it makes it really good. You get to see what happens when they find out, hey, there's suspected Jedi activity. You see it also in Rebels. You see it in a few other things in the Ahsoka books. They send a lot of the Emperor sends a lot of resources to investigate. It's not just like, oh, let's just send a Tie fighter out there.
Yeah.
It's very all over the radio. That's how Bail Organa finds Ahsoka after so long, because he hears that the Empire or the Empire is chasing after suspected Jedi activity, and he goes and looks into it himself.
Right.
So you mean to tell me that Bail Organa can find the Jedi,
Yeah.
but the Jedi can't find each other?
I mean, between the time of, you know, um, uh, Revenge of the Sith and I would say like the time of Rebels, I can see them. Okay, they're hiding. All right, I can see that because there's no rebellion going on, and if there is, it's like in its infancy. You got like a little group of people here causing trouble, a little group of people there causing trouble, but nothing really organized. No cells or anything like that. So I can see them still hiding at that point. But again, once the rebellion gets started, I can't. I just I can't see them still hiding. I can't.
Here's the this is one of the downsides to Obi-Wan. Leia knows Obi-Wan's alive. She
Yes.
knows she at least knows where he lives. Bale knows where he lives.
Bale
Uh,
knows where he lives. She doesn't know where he lives.
as far as we know. But
Yeah.
but well, she knew how to she knew for the droids to find him on Tatooine. But uh, so finding him couldn't be that easy,
She didn't.
or that
Oh well, yeah,
difficult.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
finding him
yeah.
couldn't be that easy, that difficult. It's just the fact that you know, there's a lot of plot holes, and every time they come out with something new, it creates more and more
More.
plot holes,
Mm-hmm.
which would be one of the things that if Mace Windu does come back, the reason why I like the idea of him confronting Obi-Wan is because they can actually do that and it will not affect the rest of the series unless they go out of their way to make it affect the rest of everything. Because as of right now, there's nothing in between the end of Obi-Wan and his cameo in Rebels that he is involved in.
Right.
We learned that he's not going to be, staring at Luke every day. That he's going to give Lars their space
Mm-hmm.
and allow them to be. So it allows him to create this extra arc that would not affect other items. Because even if Mace Windu comes back, if he goes through all the stuff, ends up fighting Obi Wan and dying, and there's not that much of an, it's not gonna change anything. Even if the Emperor gets involved, it's not gonna change any storyline around
Yeah.
it that's already been established.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I really think that if they do bring Mace Windu back, he should die. He has to die.
Oh, absolutely.
He has to die. Um, I can't get past this one point. I really can't. I can't see a Jedi like Mace Windu giving it up, sitting on the sidelines during the rebellion. I
He's
can't.
he's too strong. So I've been reading, or I finished reading Shatterpoint,
Mhm.
and if you don't know what that is, it's no longer considered canon, but it's pretty much during the Clone Wars. He goes on a solo mission by himself, and just he describes himself, the type of person that he is,
Yeah.
his powers, and to hear that and to read that, and then think, oh, he fell out the window and survived, if he survived, and just said, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna go to Boca Raton and just sit out the rest of my day.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
So, I mean, if they do bring him back, honestly, in whatever capacity he is, whether he is, whether he starts the Knights of Ren, whether he's, just like a bitter old man, um, a bum on the street, no matter what capacity that he comes back in, he has to die by the end of whatever.
I,
Um,
and I think
yeah,
he has to die by Obi Wan. It's the only way. To me, it's the only way that kind of gives him a fitting end. Like I feel like if you just went to the Emperor, it's like okay, like Emperor did it again. I think in my mind, in my mind, this arc would be very similar to Maul because he would come back. He'd be
Hmm.
just grizzled, the little crazy, little this, little that, and he would get into this battle with Obi-Wan, and I think, Obi-Wan would give, hit them with the mortal blow, and then he would have that clarity, just like Vader came back at the end, just like
Yeah,
Maul, was released at the end. If you read Dark Disciple, spoiler alert, Ventress comes back at the end. You know, I think it would be the same thing with Mace Windu. That after that happens, in his death throes, he
yeah.
would come back.
I think it depends on how they bring him back. If they bring him back, like what we're talking about with being going over to the dark side, yeah, Obi-Wan should be the one to take him out. If they just bring him back really any other way, um, I don't think Obi-Wan really needs to take him out. I think in that particular case, if he comes back in any other way except for a dark sider, I think he can really go out any other sort of heroic way.
So, what do you think the chances are, and how would you write it for him to come back and still be, I guess, what we would consider your typical Jedi?
Uh, I would see. Okay, I think that one way like they can do it is if he was actually found not long after he falls and he's put into, for lack of a better word, an internment camp, a prison,
Okay.
and he's held prisoner. And I can see him, escaping with or without help. Depends on how they do it. And coming back that way. And then what would be, I mean, I don't want to say a good story. It really depends on whoever's writing it and how they're writing it. But a potential good storyline, especially for Obi-Wan season two, is, you know, Obi-Wan finding out about these camps and with Mace Windu's help going and freeing people from those camps. And in the process of freeing them, Qui-Gon, Mace, Qui-Gon's already down. Mace Windu is killed in
Okay.
the process of helping people escape.
See, I, in my mind, like, I completely agree. If he comes back for anything, he's got to die.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for someone that powerful to come back. Like if Obi Wan's nowhere near as strong as Mace Windu is, at least during the Clone Wars. But if Obi-Wan can come back and make such an impression, you have to imagine what someone like Windu would be able to. So if he's
Hmm.
still alive when A New Hope is starting up, then that's gonna make other issues like why isn't he in the battle, whether it's for whatever side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so like for me, if I for me to think of something that he would be able to come back and kind of retain his innocence, let's call it. Uh, I agree. He would have to be found shortly after, taken maybe brought in and taken care of by people. Like maybe he suffered injuries. Maybe in the
Okay.
fall
Yeah.
he's hurt. Maybe there's some sort of amnesia there, or maybe his everything. Maybe he's savable, but he's gonna have to spend a really long time either in cryostasis or in a bacta bath, and that
Hmm.
he's gonna be in there for a really long time, and
Okay.
just the world goes by while he's still healing, not
Hmm.
fully conscious, but his body's aging with him. And then all of a sudden, he just kind of wakes up. Up here, he just has kind of like flashbacks to the Clone Wars, but he's still the same guy, and he would have to, and now he wants to go and exact his revenge. And if anything, then if it were to go that route, I don't think Obi-Wan should be involved at all.
Right.
I think it should be Mace confronting Vader, and I think Anakin Vader should be the one who then
Take him out.
delivers exactly the one to
Mm.
take him out at that point, and kind of really having that one-upsmanship because when you think about Vader and how badass the character's supposed to be, and I know there's Legends content, but let's stick back with canon. And I'm not as up to date with the comic books and stuff, but he
Yeah.
hasn't really defeated anyone. In fact, he's thought of by the Emperor as a failure.
Well, I mean, he when we first see him in Obi-Wan up until the last battle, um, I would say that no, he's still a badass.
Well, he's still a
I mean,
badass. Like he's a
you take a look at the first battle between Obi-Wan and Vader, um, which, as you know, I was totally against both battles. But if you take a look at that one battle, I mean, he literally sets Obi-Wan on fire.
but the thing you're not taking this into consideration is Obi-Wan's in hiding. He can't practice. He hasn't been using the Force. He hasn't been doing anything. Meanwhile, Vader is now altered. He has all these cybernetics, which increase his strength, which
Hmm.
increase his his weight. On top of that, he's fighting and training with the Inquisitors nonstop. He's not afraid to use his power and draw attention to it like Obi-Wan is. So he's in his prime. He's in his game. Obi-Wan is like the guy coming out of retirement after 15 years,
Yeah.
to try to make a comeback,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what
Seriously.
happens in there. So I don't think you can compare the two, but just judging based on what we've seen, and I've said in the past, I really think there needs to be a Vader series of him in his prime,
Hmm.
so that way they can showcase his abilities more. But if in the comics, in the books, almost everything he does, he fails at, and the Emperor is always looking for a replacement for Vader because he is whether it's as a test or whether it's something serious because he doesn't feel that Vader is whether because Vader isn't Anakin. Anakin
Yeah.
was 18, 19 years old, had all his appendages, super strong with the Force. Now Vader is a cyborg. He's still super
Yeah.
strong, but not as strong as he was. He's lost a lot of
Uh-huh.
his abilities, and he's not as useful to the Emperor as Vader as he would have been as Anakin.
I think so on that note, I feel that the only reason Palpatine kind of kept Vader around is just for the intimidation factor. I mean, he's an imposing figure in his armor. I think otherwise, in Palpatine's eyes, um, he lost his apprentice on Mustafar.
Yes.
He lost his apprentice on Mustafar. He was looking for, uh, as creepy as it sounds, he was looking for that young, ver, uh, oh God, I was going to say versatile, um, but that young stud. He was
Yeah.
he was looking for that.
He's
That's who
look.
he wanted. That's who he wanted as his apprentice.
Yeah. He was looking. He was looking for the future because
Which also kind of goes into, he wanted that young Anakin to also help with his master plan of creating clones for himself, like, and I really do believe that he is trying to create, or was trying to create, the most powerful force using clone that he can inhabit.
Oh, absolutely. Something that could handle his power, and I kind of wish that they would make Force Unleashed uh, canon
Hmm.
because like there's some great storytelling there and it goes into the clone. Like, Starkiller was said to have the potential to be as powerful as the Emperor. There's a
Yeah.
lot of untold story there, and he's still a fan favorite character. And I would love to see Starkiller as canon. I think it would
I
be
wish they would have. I wish they would make Dark Empire and Dark Empire 2 a little more canon, or
I
at least Dark Empire 1.
I wish they
Um,
would just make the original Thrawn series.
well, that too, that too.
Yeah,
But I mean, well, in Dark Empire, and they took elements of that for the new trilogy, for the recent trilogy. Um, they come right out and say, yeah, no, Palpatine has been cloning himself, and they've shown the cloning tanks. They show his other clones still in the tanks, and they explain that when he dies, he literally he just transfers his consciousness, his being, into this new clone. The problem is that as he's using his dark side powers, it's wasting away that clone body.
and
So I mean, it really was. I mean,
that
yeah,
was the storyline for the final one. Um,
right.
but you know there's so much that they can go into with it. There's so much content out there, but yeah, but back to Vader. At this point, the only way that even to redeem Vader in our eyes, because the only time, like, if you think about when Vader looks the strongest, he looked obviously the strongest against a weak, out of touch old Jedi. He looked decently strong against Obi-Wan at the second battle, but then Obi-Wan, went beast mode and won. So
Yeah.
when you think about it, the only time we get a real kick-ass version of Vader, you can maybe say when he's fighting the girl in Obi-Wan, but
Oh,
once
the
again,
Inquisitor,
yeah, but once again, far
third sister.
weaker, far weaker
Yeah.
character.
Hmm.
He just looks badass when he's deflecting, lasers. If giving, having him go up against Mace, as long as they portray Mace as being strong and not weak like they did with Obi-Wan, would give us our first live action or cartoon version. Well, I guess cartoon, he did take on Kanan
Yeah.
and Ahsoka, but it would give us our first
Yeah.
live action version of Darth Vader actually being badass against an opponent that that should hopefully be his rival. Remember, Mace was stronger than Obi-Wan was,
Yes. Yeah.
like
I
significantly.
I tell you, I would like. I'm going on record to say that I don't want any more Jedi who survived Order 66. I don't want any more.
So
The ones we have now, um, I think that, maybe except for, a couple, including Ahsoka and Kanan and Ezra, um, I think the majority of them should either be killed off, or some of them should even renounce and close themselves off to the Force completely, to go into hiding, to
so
live a normal life. I
so
Yeah.
right now, like, so I don't know if you've played Fallen Order, but you have
No,
You
no, I
have
don't.
so now, so that is canon. Seer Junda did just that. She was a Jedi, and she closed herself off from the Force. She has no more Force ability whatsoever. You have Cal Kestis, who during the first Fallen Order game actually stumbles across a Jedi Master who
Hmm.
survived Order 66, who then went to the dark side and actually was like defeating or ruling over the Night Brothers,
Okay.
and your character has to fight and defeat him. So that's a Jedi, but at least another survivor, but now one that you kill off. There is another Fallen Order game coming out soon. It's called Survivor,
Okay.
and so don't know what it's about. It shows what looks like a Jedi either in a cloning tank or in a Bacta tank. Shows someone in there. If you do get a chance to it and you have time to kill, It's a very good toilet time. Um, to just go on YouTube, watch the cinematic you can find like it's a couple hours long. The
Yeah, yeah.
cinematics for Fallen Order. I definitely recommend watching it.
I've watched
Um,
Transformers versions of that.
exactly, but I definitely recommend watching it because
Yeah.
you'll learn at least a lot of the storyline because eventually they're saying Cal Kestis might get his own stuff, and I don't know if that's going to be well. This takes place. You've had to play the games in order to know what's going on now,
Hmm.
but there's gonna be a lot going on. But in regards to Mace Windu, I really think if he comes back, it needs to be in a dark way.
Hmm.
And I think if they really are serious about an Obi-Wan second season, it has to be with them confronting each other and Obi-Wan defeating him.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. My ideally, I would want, like, if I had my way, I would want Mace Windu to come back and you find out that he has restarted the Knights of Ren and he's gone over to the dark side, just out of sheer anger for everything that happened. And for whatever reason, meets back up with Obi-Wan, where they do have a clash, and um, Obi-Wan takes out Mace Windu. I don't even care if he repents at the end, I'll be honest.
Well,
Um,
and I
he
think
doesn't even have to.
And I think both of those would be, very suitable. At the end of the day, these shouldn't be like 10 episode things. These should be like, the whole 4 or 5 episode things.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be great. So I am looking at our timer. We are getting to
I'm
the end.
staring at that too.
Yeah. So now I think we have a lot of theories. I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
plans. And there's so much that we can that they can do with this. And if they don't, I feel it'd be a big lost opportunity.
Yeah.
Especially if they want to explore more without using Luke uh, in there. But I think that's pretty much all I got on the topic. What about you?
That's about all I have, especially all we have time for.
All right,
So
you want to sound us off?
I will. All right. So, guys, thanks for joining in. Please follow us on.
YouTube, on Instagram. We do have a Facebook page. We've been kind of delinquent for a little bit on things, so we're going to start getting everything back up, and we look forward to hopefully entertaining you guys some more in the future.
All right. So, this has been Adam,
Steve,
and we'll see you all next time. May
may
the
the
force be
force be
with
with
you.
you.